Hari Om, everyone. Welcome back.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
All turn on your video, it would be good. Yes, you cannot.
Hari Om, Suresh ji. Sorry, I'm outside. That's why I'm not keeping my can't keep.
Okay. Shall we begin?
Yes. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam. Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahmavid Param. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gururaviranadischa Guru Paramadaivatam Guru Parataram Nasti Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Na Guroradikam Tattvam Na Guroradikam Tapaha Tattvajnanat Param Nasti Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Hari Om. Welcome back, everyone. So we are starting a very special text called Upanishad Vidya Sara. It's a composition by Puji Guruji, not an original composition. He's constructed it using existing shlokas, existing mantras, I take that back, from the Upanishads. And Guruji said this is actually a similar text we have done before called Subodh Vedanta. Those of us who did it here, we did it a few years back, I think 2020. But Subodh Vedanta followed a similar line of thinking, but that's his original composition. Every mantra there was Guruji's composition. Here he's composed this by using existing mantras in the Upanishads and produced what I believe is probably one of the texts ever put together. So we're very fortunate that we're privileged that Guruji found us worthy adhikaris to actually take this text. This is a serious text. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. So we begin by invoking God's grace and Guru's blessings, and we begin slowly. We're going to go really slow. Because the idea of this text is at the end of which we should all feel fulfilled, complete. So there's no hurry-burry. So the question is, we're going to take each word, Upanishad, Vidya, Sara. Now we could spend literally 2 hours on each of these. but at the end of which I promise all of you would have disappeared and the class will cease. So I will try my best to put it all together in 45 minutes. So question is, what is Vidya? What is Upanishad? Are we eligible? Are we qualified? Do we deserve to be here? So let's go back to first principles. All of us, the most majority of us, we really don't know what we are seeking. You ask anyone, why are you doing X? And they will say, what else is there to do? Either everybody is doing that, therefore I need to do that. Or my parents told me to do this. Or peers are pressuring me to do that. Or social economic circumstances, therefore I do this. That's the answer you will get from 99.9% of the people. So why do we do what we do? And the scriptures break it down to two simple factors. In life, we only seek two things: security and happiness. In the language of Purushartha, it's Artha and Kama. In the language of the Bhagavad Gita, it is Yoga and Kshema. So security, the very basic physical security which we all seek, is food, clothing, shelter. I believe there's a Hindi movie, Roti, Kapda, Makan. Three things which we seek is fundamental to all. If there's an earthquake or tsunami somewhere, what do they send aid? It's food, it's clothing, and some kind of shelter, tarpaulin, tents, something. That's the fundamental needs of the human body. Then we need security. Security of our possessions, security of our relationships, of our relations. But the interesting thing is, from cradle to grave, the very things which we are trying to secure and protect is perishable. And the means by which we try to secure and protect the perishable is also perishable. If we think money is all I need to secure and protect myself, well, once you get money, try keeping on to that money, and you will realize what I'm saying. So yoga, in the language of Bhagavad Gita, yoga is to acquire something. I work to acquire. Kshema, I then work, once I've acquired, to preserve. Preservation is my focus. So acquisition and preservation is the preoccupation of human life relative to our worldly needs. Even though we can see that it is it's a losing proposition what we are doing. Acquisition and preservation of perishable by perishable is a losing proposition, yet we continue hoping against hope that this time, for me, it will be different. Security. So now let's talk about happiness. After a reasonable amount of security, we then seek happiness. And most of us will define happiness initially as all my needs are fulfilled. When all my needs are fulfilled, then I look for more comforts, more luxuries, status, power, more pleasure, higher standard of living. So we equate our happiness to the quantity, not the quality. Of what? People, objects or things, places, situations, enjoyments, something outside. And a tautology is, as long as our happiness is dependent on something else, we are bound to be sorrowful. So dependence equals sorrow is a tautology. So the two motivating factors in human life is acquisition and preservation for security and happiness. The more I get, the more I feel secure. The more secure I feel, the more I enjoy, and therefore more objects equals to, I use objects in a broader sense of the term, equates to more happiness. This wishful thinking continues in most of our lives. So artha and kama in the language of Purushartha. And as long as we're looking for these two things, artha and kama, yoga and kshema, security and happiness, such a person will have no inkling whatsoever for anything spiritual. Either they know nothing or they'll have no urge to know anything. Kathopanishad says, Shravanayapi bahubhirna labhya. This knowledge is not available for millions to even hear. And then it says, Shunvantopi bahavo yamna vidyuhu. Those who have heard it, majority still do not even understand that. So, India is supposed to be a spiritual country, religious country. Go to the street and ask how many people have heard of the word Upanishad. Thanks to Chinmaya Mission and Ramakrishna Mission, now many would have heard of it. But how many have actually heard of it, heard the contents? Forget about understanding. So, as long as our pursuits are for security, happiness, yoga, kshema, artha, kama, outside the world, we are not ready for this knowledge. We do not know it. We have no desire to know it. And that's a state of ignorance, bondage. Yoga Vasishta calls it baddha, bound purusha. Then something strange happens. Something very strange. Something prods us. Wake up, wake up. In general, three factors which will cause this prodding. That's all it is, a prodding, nothing more than that, to wake up. Tragedies, adversities, failures, betrayal, causing immense sorrow. And then we start thinking, what is life? Is this what it's all about? So the majority will start thinking only with immense sorrows as a result of external factors. A select few will wake up with few sorrows. That's why I've always said, blessed are those who have sorrows and blessed are those who do not have sorrows. But it's an external situation which will make you say, stop and think, where am I going? What am I doing? What is my achievement besides this gray hair? Second factor, why we wake up, is known as grace. By some strange grace factor, which is inexplicable, by chance, we may come in contact with a Mahapurusha, with a realized master, with a sadhu. Narad Bhakti Sutra says very clearly, Mahat Sangastu Durlabha Agamyaha Amogascha. Mahat Sangastu Durlabha is very hard to meet a realized master or Mahapurusha. When you meet him, Agamyaha, you will not understand him at all. Amoghascha, but the effect of that meeting, even brief, is infallible. When anyone goes to Bombay, the first thing I tell them is go to Powai, meet Guruji. Many of you have done that now. Many say, oh, he does nothing. I just sit there and then he chats and then I came back. The effect will be there. at some point in your life. Now, either you meet a realized master, or you meet a sadhu, a noble person, a friend, a like-minded friend. It is only a friend who will tell you, let's go to satsang. Your enemy will say, let's go to a nightclub. It's only a friend who will say, let's go to a satsang. And when you go to a satsang, something happens that makes you think. And that is known as satsang mahima, the power of satsang. It triggers something in you. Second factor while you wake up, which may cause us to wake up. First was tragedy. Second is some grace factor or satsang mahima. Third factor is as a result of many lives of meritorious deeds, all the good karmas we have done, the accumulated karmas fructifies, and therefore this desire, the urge for this knowledge comes in our mind. So whatever the case may be, at some point we get this urge that is this it? There must be more to life than this. Either by tragedies, grace, or the accumulated merits of our own doing. And the person starts thinking, so far I've been spending day and night, cradle to grave, acquiring, preserving. These are my only two preoccupations of life. Then the great revelation happens. So far, I've been trying to replace my worldly sorrows with worldly joys. And now the great revelation happens that even worldly joy is not really a joy, but is a source of sorrow. When that thinking comes, one becomes an adhikari. I know in Vivek Chudamani, Atmabodh, Vivek, adhikari means you have Vivek, Vairagya, Shatsa, Parimukta. Forget all that. Once this urge comes that I need to, I've been living my life, I've been existing, not living. I now need to live. When this thought comes, one becomes an adhikari, eligible student. When you become an adhikari, you're qualified. But once you're qualified, that's not good enough. I'm qualified to be a nuclear scientist. That's not good enough. I need to have a desire to become a nuclear scientist. And as that desire grows in me, it is known as mumukshutvam. So the desire for, we say liberation. We have no idea what that means. We have no clue. But that's okay. There's this desire that I want something else, something more permanent than this transient, ephemeral, joy, sorrows, joy, sorrows, joy. So I need something beyond that. So you become a mumukshu. As you become a mumukshu, you develop what is known as vairagya. Vairagya doesn't mean you dislike everything. Vairagya simply means that I stop running to. Actually, what is our life all about? I run towards things I like, and I run away from things I don't like. That's the sum total of autobiography of every human being. Vairagya says, I neither run towards what I like, neither do I run away from what I don't like. I simply understand like they are toys that a child plays with, but my problems are not solved by raga or dvesha. So when this understanding dawns, it is known as vairagya. Not opposed to raga, not opposed to dvesha, just understanding that raga and dvesha brings only a quantitative change, not a qualitative change in my life. Because you will cry. If you have money, you will cry comfortably in an air-conditioned room on a sofa. That's the only difference. So our story continues. Adhikari, mumukshutva, vairagya, and then you start questioning, What is beyond these pairs of opposites which will make me complete? When you ask, what kind of a useless life have I been living? From a worldly standpoint, everybody will say, wow, you've got a fantastic life. They said that to Mirabai when she ran away. They said that to Siddhartha Buddha when he ran away. They will ask you, all is well and good with you. What is wrong with you? Why are you pursuing spirituality? Ask Roshni, ask Krishna. I'm sure people come to the ashram and ask you, so is everything okay? Why are you here? Either it was a failed marriage, or you couldn't get somebody to marry, or there's a problem in your family. They ask Guruji, what, you couldn't find a girl? Why did you join the ashram? When I started studying Vedanta in 1999, I went out with friends, and you all know him, so I won't take his name. He lives right here in St. John's Wood. We went out for dinner, and I started talking about Chinmaya Mission. I'm starting to study. When he dropped me home, Kanchan went in. His wife was in the car. He came to the door with me, and he said, Suresh, is everything okay with you? Everything fine with Kanchan? Are you sure? He had genuine concern that I was thinking of studying Vedanta. So from a worldly standpoint, everything is fine, but you still have that desire, no, something is not right. Yoga Vasishtha gives it a very simplistic 3-bucket classification. One who may be highly educated in the world but has no desire or need to know this knowledge is known as a Baddha. He's always seeking outside. Number 2 is the man of wisdom who has already realized his own self. He has no need for this knowledge. 2 people. Either you're a Baddha or you're a realized master. We all are in between that. We are known as Jignasus. We understand our miserable state. We want to come out of it. We have no idea what has to be done, what has to be known, but the mind is restless. This restlessness of mind to come out of our existing way of living for something higher is actually a divine blessing. And when our mind is restless for worldly things, it's a malignant cancer. So restlessness of the mind. For outer worldly things, it is malignant cancer. For something higher and nobler, something different, something I do not even know, but I know I want, is a divine blessing. Yoga Vasishtha calls that Subhecha, Shubha Icha, auspicious desire in our mind. What kind of life am I living, running after the same things over and over and over? Subhecha comes. So we do not want to live a life in autopilot. On this recognition, the person wakes up. What does waking up mean? He now becomes a seeker of knowledge, either due to power of satsang, Mahapurusha satsang, punya karma manifestation, grace, tragedies, whatever it may be. The thought arises, I now need to pursue something else. You become an adhikari. Adhikari, mumukshutvam, vairagya, all that is good. What do I need to? I need to do something. Secret of success, they've said, is what? 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. So when I start to follow, I may be an adhikari, I may realize this, yet I sit back and do nothing. It's called a wasted opportunity, wasted life. So when I start to do something about it, it is known as sadhana. One who does sadhana for a sadhya goal is known as a sadhaka. So adhikari is the very first step. You develop some mumukshutva, some vairagya. When you start doing something about it, then you become a sadhaka. You put in the effort. What kind of effort? I don't want to scare you, but Gurudev used to say, to study Vedanta, you have to become dead to this world. I'm giving you this as the goal where we need to get to. Such a sadhaka, by God's grace, meets a guru. I'm giving you just a big picture. We're going to go into brutal detail, slok mantra by mantra. So what is this adhikari seeking? He has no idea. He has no idea. One thing he knows is he's no longer seeking ordinary security and happiness. He's temporary happiness. He's not seeking yoga and shema. He's not seeking artha and kama. Now, the four purusharthas of life, artha, kama. Anyone else?
Dharma, moksha.
Dharma and moksha.
First time in his life, one will start thinking of dharma and moksha. So he doesn't know that, but this person now says, I want something which is eternal, not transient. It is permanent, and I'm tired of this. He doesn't know what he wants or how to achieve it. He's heard of the words Atma, Brahma, Adhyatma. All he knows is he wants something which is absolutely real, not transient, relative. That, the knowledge of that, which is absolute, which is not transient, that tattva jnana, knowledge of the absolute reality, is the subject matter of this vidya. What is the result of this vidya? This is what we are promised. Free from all limitations, free from all sorrow, known as moksha. Subject matter of this vidya is knowledge of the absolute truth, known as Brahma Jnanam, Atma Jnanam, Vedanta Jnanam. Seeker, adhikari, we've talked about. Result, total freedom. Where is this vidya? Vedas. You say, okay, thank you. Where do I start? Let's briefly talk about Vedas. 4 kinds of Vedas: Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. We've all memorized that. Where are they to be found? If you're able to find books, good luck. They are massive, going into hundreds of thousands of mantras. Karmakand, Upasnakand, Jnanakand, the Upanishads. Many people who convert to Christianity, my own sister did, by the way. She's in Bombay. She said it's too complex, Hinduism. Here I just believe Jesus Christ my savior, and that's all I have to believe in, and that's it. I reflected, I say, you do have a point. Vedas is massive, it is daunting. 4 Vedas, the end of the Vedas, physically the end, is known as Vedanta, end of Vedas, which contains the Upanishads, the philosophical teachings of the Vedas. Now, Vedanta just doesn't mean the end of the Vedas, it means that which culminates all your knowledge. It is the end of all knowledges. It brings total and complete fulfillment, are known as the Upanishads. Wow, okay, so we've zeroed in from Vedas just to Upanishads. Fantastic. How many Upanishads are there? Some say 100, some say 108, some say 110. We don't even know. But we do know that there are 10, arguably 11 major Upanishads. Major not in terms of importance, but major because Bhagavan Bhashyakar, Shankaracharya, has written commentaries on these 10, arguably 11 Upanishads. They're known as Dashopanishad, Ishavasya. We've done Ishavasya, we've done Keno in this class, we've done Katho, we've done Mundako. We've not done the following: Prashno, Mandukya, Aitareya, we did with Guruji, Taittiriya, did with Guruji, Chandogya, not done, Brihadaranyaka, not done. And the 11th one is Shvetashvatara Upanishad, which I did in Uttarkashi 2017. There's a debate about Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Even though there's a Bhashya written by Shankara, some argue it wasn't the original Shankara, it was one of his Shishyas who did it. Doesn't matter. They're 10 or 11. So again, we've zeroed into Upanishads. We don't know how many they are. There are 10 or 11 Upanishads. That's a huge volume. And even these Upanishads deal with a variety of matters, including karma, including upasana. What does Upanishad mean? Upa, ni, shad. Literal definition, upa, niya, ni, below. Ni actually means nischayati, nischaya, determination. Shad, sit. So my religion, my philosophy is near, below, sit. But also means that that knowledge which is gained by sitting at the feet of the master, which leads us to our own true self and puts an end to all sufferings once and for all, is known as Upanishad. Shankara said, Upasinnam, Upanisannam Param Shreya Asyam iti Upanishad. Upanishad is that which contains the absolute good. It reveals the absolute good. The absolute good is seated in the Upanishads. Now, we know that the Vidya which we are seeking, which will end our restlessness and teach us about the absolute good, is Vedanta, which is the Vedas, which is now the Upanishads, which of course is still massive. Now, how do we know that Vedanta and Upanishads are one of the same thing, and that is all I need to know? There are 10 aphorisms, which is the crux of what we do in Advaita Vedanta. So the first question you have to ask when any organization comes is, do they subscribe to the Upanishads, to Vedanta? Vedanta Namo Upanishad Praman. Vedanta is the Upanishads, and it is the valid means of knowledge. Just as my eyes are the valid means of knowledge to see, my ears are the valid means of knowledge to hear, Vedanta is the valid means of knowledge to know this absolute truth. Vedaha Pramanam, it is a valid means of knowledge. Atindriya Vishaye Vedaha Pramanam, to know that which is beyond my senses, Vedas are the valid means of knowledge. The two things we needed to know, Dharma and Brahma, Dharma and Moksha. Dharma Jignasa Mananam Pramanam Paramam Shrutihi, and Brahma Jignasa Mananam Pramanam Paramam Shruti. To know Dharma and Brahma, Vedas are the supreme and absolute and means of knowledge for knowing this. Ajnata Nyapakam Pramanam, means of knowledge, reveals that which is unknown to us. Abhadita Jnana Janakam Pramanam. The Vedas reveal that knowledge to us which is never ever contradicted in time or space. It cannot be negated. Pramanam Nyapakam Natukarakam. This valid means of knowledge reveals Natukarakam, does not create anything. Vedaha Apaurusheya. It is not a human composition, it is a divine revelation. And the last three. Anantavai Vedaha, Vedas are infinite, Anadi, beginningless, Nitya, endless, eternal. There are 12 of them actually, 12 aphorisms I've just mentioned. So these Vedas, encapsulated in the Upanishads, not human composition, divine revelations, they are the valid means of knowledge. They reveal the truth without creating anything. They are never contradicted in time. They are infinite, beginningless, and eternal. So you say, okay, now I think I'm done. It's too complex. What do I do? This is where Guruji brings out his magic. Are there any questions before I continue here?
Uncle, can you elaborate a little bit on this Atindriya Vishaya Vedaha Pramanam? Because there is, there is this whole who authored it, and we know it's, heard, but there are so many different sources. Why Vedas? There's this whole debate. I mean, I know we get it being in this, but just to, is it just a matter of faith that you have to have faith because it's said somewhere, and then therefore you have to start, because that becomes almost the crux of everything else, right? I mean, if you don't trust the Vedas, then everything else kind of falls apart, which is why Shastra Pramanam, etc., is reinforced so much. Is there any more color on this, or is it just one of those things that you start with that hypothesis, go there, and then find it for yourself?
Pretty much. But if you even use logic, this absolute truth is beyond my intellect. It's something which is illumining my intellect. So it is not something I can know with my intellect. So any intellectual argument given would not make any sense. Secondly, why does it say Atindriya Vishaya? Indriyas are meant for experiencing the outer world, courtesy the Atma Chaitanya in us. So the Indriyas have no capacity to know the Chaitanya. The Indriyas are objects relative to the Atma Chaitanya. And by logical deduction, the known cannot know the knower. The flashlight cannot know the batteries. So the Indriyas are objects in fact, the Indriya is objects of the mind is the object of the intellect is the object of the Atma Chaitanya. So that which cannot be known through our senses has to be Atindriya. And what's Atindriya can only be known through the Vedas. It cannot be known by Pratyaksha Praman, direct perception. It is Aparoksha. It is neither, there's Pratyaksha Praman to know something, there's vicarious knowledge which someone has told me, Paroksha Jnana. This is Aparoksha Jnana, which is neither Pratyaksha or Paroksha, it is Aparoksha. If something is Aparoksha, it is Atindriya. If it's Atindriya, it is beyond the senses. Beyond the senses requires the Vedas. So by logical deduction even, it is not possible to know the truth through our direct perception, inference, vicarious knowledge. It has to be through Aparoksha means.
And I can see this for something like Atma Vidya or Moksha. You said at the start, even for Dharma and Brahman or Moksha, Vedas are needed. Would you say the same thing for Dharma as well? Or can Dharma be known more broadly beyond the Vedas?
No, sir.
Okay.
Dharma Jignasa Mananam Pramanam Paramam Shruti. Because Dharma is not a man-written constitution. Man-written constitution is Kiyastama. Don't park here on a Sunday. Don't park here on a Monday. You can go to this hotel and put illegals. This is a divine constitution which governs all human beings at all times, at all places, in eternity.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now what do I do? I've got about 15 minutes to summarize a long piece here. It's a beautiful write-up is given in the introduction, actually. There's a saying in Panchatantra, Guruji writes, Anantaparam kila shabda shastram swalpam yatha ayuhu bhavascha vignaha saram tatho grahyam apasya falgu hamser yatha shiram ivambu madhyat. Shabda Shastra. So this Shabda Shastra is scriptural knowledge. Anantaparam. It is massive. It is shoreless. It is vast. It is limitless. In fact, I'll tell you one story. 1999, I went to Pune and I met my mother's guru's disciple, Sant Anand Prakash. He lives in Pune. And Mama was worried that I'm now studying the Vedas, Vedanta and everything, so talk to him. So he spoke to me. He was a sannyasi in orange robes. And he said, Suresh, this is very good what you're doing. But in Sindhi, he said, Hidanjo anta aayega na. Means there is no end to this. You will just keep studying. You will go crazy. Just come to the mandir, do bhajan, kirtan, and that's enough. I said, thank you, and I left. I'll never forget those words. A sannyasi telling me this. Ananta Param. He was right. It is shoreless. It is vast. It is limitless. So then, is it possible? It makes it even harder. Svalpam tatha ayuhu. Our lifespan is very short. Let's say 100 years to be generous. Past 80 or 75, you're really worried about your body. And during our healthy lives, we're just focused on completely different things, including sleeping 8 to 10 hours a day. Now maybe 6 to 8 hours a day. So where is the time? Knowledge is vast. Lifespan is short. If that isn't bad enough, bhavascha vignaha. Innumerable are the obstacles en route. You've heard Shreyamsi Bhahuvignani. Whenever you start something good, Bhahuvignani, lots of obstacles will come in your path. Why you cannot do it. So what do? Saram tato grahyam apasya falgu. Saram tato. Look for the essence of the knowledge. Details are innumerable. Look for the essence. What is the essence of the knowledge I need to learn? Apasya, discard. Falgu, in Hindi they say faltu. Discard all the insignificant, irrelevant, unnecessary details. Apasya. How do I do that? Hamsair yatha, like the Hamsa Pakshi, which we did Hamsa Gita, that Hamsa Pakshi, the mythical swan, Shiram Ivambu Madhya, who is able to separate milk from water and take up the milk and give up the water. The knowledge is vast, lifespan is short, filled with many, many obstacles. So how do I then seek the knowledge? Seek the essence of it and give up what is not necessary, like the Hamsa Pakshi, who is able to do Shira Nina Vivek, the Vivek of milk and water. Okay. Now, why is this Vidya, again, most important? Lord Krishna says, Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam. Amongst all branches of knowledge, Adhyatma, the terms used will be interchangeable. Adhyatma Vidya, Atma Vidya, spiritual knowledge, knowledge of the self is the most important. Now we know we want something else, and Vedanta says knowledge of the self. But why do I need to know myself? When someone meets an accident and they're in a coma and in the hospital, Guruji explains in the book, and he may be a nuclear scientist, when he wakes up, what's the first question you ask him? The formula for thermodynamics? First, you see, is he conscious? Second question, do you know yourself? Even on football pitches, when someone gets a concussion, first thing they ask him, who are you? Where are you? Then you can ask him who has relations. The first question, most fundamental, is, do you know yourself? Knowledge of the self is most fundamental and important. Ramana Maharishi, beautiful saying. It said in the subtext here. Bodharam atmanam ajanatoyo, bodhasakim syat paramartha bodha. Without knowing the self, now I know Ramana Maharishi is hardcore. Without knowing the self, is any knowledge of anything else worthy? Does it have any value? Does it have something which, if you do not know the absolute truth, is knowledge of anything of any worth? So according to Lord Krishna, according to Ramana Maharshi, Atma Vidya, Adhyatma Vidya is most important. It is also known as Brahma Vidya. We'll come to all of these, but briefly, Brahma means that which is infinite, Purna, complete. And this Brahma Vidya, Upanishad Vidya, Vedanta Vidya, Atma Vidya, Adhyatma Vidya, interchangeably used, is the very basis of all knowledge. It's known as Sarva Vidya Pratishtanam. Why? Because Brahman is Purna, complete. What we are seeking in life is completeness. Knowledge of that Brahma Vidya alone can give us Purnata, completeness in life. Only that knowledge is worth knowing which our life is complete. Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. Without that, no knowledge is possible. If you listen to Guruji's talk on inspiration from the Upanishads, which he gave in Calcutta in the 90s, it was very hilarious. How he got into Vedanta? He said, I was not very good in school. So then I saw the shloka in the Mundaka Upanishad, Kasminu Bhagavato Vidyate, Sarvamidam Vidyatam Bhavati iti. What is that knowing which everything becomes known? He said, I want that knowledge. And that's the knowledge in the Mundaka. What is that knowing? That's why Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. Knowing that, you become complete. Otherwise, every other branch of knowledge, which is important for our own employment, for us worldly security, is important, but it can give us only finite things. And then any number of finite things we gain cannot give us incompleteness. It cannot, the sense of incompleteness cannot go away. It remains. Okay. So let's conclude. We've talked about why this knowledge is what we need. It's in the Vedas. Vedas are Pramanam. Vedas are Upanishads. Upanishads are 110, 108, 100 plus. Bhashyakar has given us only 10 or 11. And even that is literally thousands of mantras. So how do I gain this knowledge? How to find the essence of the Upanishads? Well, Shankara has given us the essence in the Bhashyakar on these 11 Upanishads, but even that is too big. Then we say the Bhagavad Gita is the milk of the Upanishads. We keep saying that it's the essence of the Upanishads. Dukdam Gopalanandana, it's the essence of the Upanishads, it's the milk. And Krishna was the cowherd who milked the Upanishads to give us the Gita. The Gita has 700 shlokas. How to know the essence? This was the problem Guruji addressed. So on reflection, he has selected certain mantras from only 8 Upanishads. Exactly 25 mantras, 2 Shanti Paths and 23 mantras from 8 Upanishads, and he has strung it together in a sequence which will deal with the topics of the Upanishads, the vision, and the very sar, the very essence of the Upanishads. Think of Valley of the Flowers, where you have literally, if not millions, hundreds of thousands of flowers, beautiful flowers, fragrant flowers. Apparently just the sight or the smell can stun one, intoxicate one. Imagine this valley of flowers. You have a master gardener called Guruji. He has gone through these millions of flowers and he has plucked 25 of these fragrant flowers, put them into a garland known as Upanishad Vidya Sara. 25. That's all you need to do in this life, really, if you get these 25 mantras. And each flower has got a petal, and each petal is every word of that mantras. If the flower is the mantra, each petal is the word. We're going to dive deep into each petal of each flower, each word of each mantra, so that the fragrance of that flower pervades and becomes the very fragrance of our thinking personality. To bring real completeness and fulfillment in our lives, here and now. That is the promise of the Guru, not me. I will stop there. Thoughts? Questions? Disagreements? Objections? Complaints?
Hari Om, Sureshji.
Hari Om.
Yeah, only gratitude. Thank you so much for taking up this text and for unfolding it so beautifully, step by step. And thank you. Just a lot of gratitude. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Sureshji. Exactly the words that I was going to say. It's so nice to be back on a Sunday listening to this beautiful wisdom. Thank you so much. And the next few months will be wonderful Sundays for us. Start to wonderful Sundays. Thank you. Mhm.
But this one should be different. But each of us, please read ahead, reflect. It literally takes the whole week to reflect on every single word of the mantra. So when we come here, we can churn together. We're coming to it, but it's called mantra and not stotra, because stotras are stutis sung in praise. Mantra and therefore stutis are stavanam, function of the speech. Mantra is a function of the mind. The more you reflect on the mantra, the more it will reveal itself to you. That's why it's called mananat trayate iti mantraha. All these are mantras meant for reflection. So once you hear it, for the rest of the week, just reflect on the mantras. And you say, where is the time? You go to the toilet, you take a shower. This is the quietest time you will get. You walk somewhere to go to groceries or whatever it is you do. You walk. Whenever you're alone doing anything, reflect. So we have to churn together and help each other. Next time, can we all turn on our screen? It's important to see each other so we can reflect together. Talking to a screen of just names, it's not very inspiring. Trisha, anything you'd have to add?
No, Bao, I just want to ask, do you think it's advisable to follow the videos? Because those are on YouTube.
Excellent idea. The videos of Guruji are also on YouTube. Listen to them. It will all help in our reflection collectively. So there are 25 mantras. We will take each mantra, which Upanishad it's from, discuss that Upanishad, what the genesis is, what the background is, take each mantra, dissect each word so that it really becomes our own knowledge. Surely there have to be some questions, thoughts. I've spoken for 45 minutes.
Lots to reflect before next class. Thank you, Uncle.
Okay, if there are no questions, we will end early today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om.
Thank you, Suresh ji. It's
Thank you.
good to be
Hari Om.
back. Thank you so much.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
Thank you, Suresh ji. Thank you so much.
Hari Om.